Welcome. In front of me is a Xiaomi Mi 9T, and today I'll go over unboxing along with the overview of the phone itself. So, packaging, fairly nice honestly. Looks okay, fairly rigid. Seems premium, so yeah. But let's be honest, we don't really give a crap about the packaging, so yeah. Now inside of here we got paperwork, so straight to the side in the phone. Charging cable, so USB-A to USB-C, and then the charger. Just get rid of the package, and the charger is from what I remember, 18 watts, but I'm gonna check just to be certain. So, yep, 9 watts, 2 amps, so 18 watt charger right here. Cable. And the phone. Now it is already set up, so I don't actually have to. And straight off the bat you can see the display. It is seamless display. There is no notch of any sorts, which is, I would say, one of the key aspects of this device. So display here looks amazing. Even though as I'm recording this video, this is a older device. It's already like 2 years old. It's been released in June 12 of 2019. It's right now 2021. So that being said, it is still better looking than Samsung, what I would say, in terms of just the aesthetic of the front display, because they didn't decide to stick a notch or a hole. They have a motorized camera, and if I pop it up, you can see it right over here. So yeah, now because of that, the device looks amazing, and it also helps the device comes with a AMOLED display. So this is a 6.39 inches AMOLED display with a resolution of 1080 by 2340. Also 86.1% screen to body ratio, so fairly nice. Still not, I believe, not the biggest one that I have seen. I think the biggest one was like 90% or a little bit over 90. But anyway, this looks still on par with like any kind of other display. Now if they would have made the bottom of it a little bit smaller, the chin, I'm already maxed out, so can't really show it unless I find a different wallpaper. Let me quickly change it so we can see just the entirety of the screen. So let's go into wallpapers, find something super light. Seems good enough. Set for both. There we go. So you can see that we do have a little bit of a notch down here, and that does, I'd say, obstruct it a little bit. Could have been better, but still it looks really good even for the device being 2 years old right now. Now moving on, it also has a 403 pixels per inch, so really dense display. Wouldn't really ask for anything else here. It is okay. Now the only thing at this time that I would say it's lacking in terms of like looking at this device in 2021, it is a higher refresh rate. Everything else it checks on the box. It has basically a nice AMOLED display with a basically seamless display. There's no like obstructions anywhere. It's a fairly decent size display, Gorilla Glass 5, but the only thing, like I said, is missing is a higher refresh rate, so it doesn't feel as sluggish. But that is the only problem that I have with the display. And again, at the time that this device came out, meaning 2019, phones didn't really include high refresh rates at that time, or if they did, it was like at its infancy at that time. So as of point when it was released, that was really good. At this time, that's kind of what I'm missing right now. So moving on to the other part of the device, which are the cameras. We have triple camera setup. And surprisingly, there is not really any kind of wasteful cameras where they included just to rack up the count of it. So we have 48 megapixel wide sensor, which is going to be the main shooter. That's kind of weird. It changes the color. I don't know if you can see it, the circle around the camera. But yeah, so we have the 48 megapixel wide, 8 megapixel telephoto, and 13 megapixel ultra wide. And even though it does seem to be fairly okay, It does shoot at 4K 30, which won't be necessarily the most stable footage, and frame rates won't be the greatest here. Also, if you drop it to 1080p, you can shoot again at 30, which seems a little bit weird considering from what I've gathered there is no 1080p 60, but I'm gonna quickly check it just to be certain. Nope, okay, so we do have 60. So I go into the 1080p 60, I can record at a decent frame rate here. So let's just make a quick panning if it can capture. Oof, that is rough. Okay, so let's just kind of so right off the bat, in terms of recording here, I do have a little bit of a problem. So you can clearly see it once I actually start playing it. So as you can see, there's this super not subtle focus change, and sometimes it misses the focus and just kind of does like this double kind of focus, which doesn't really look good. Now, okay, outside of that, let's test out the cameras here. So at the beginning, I'm going to be using the 48 megapixel. Now before I actually begin, I'm going to check if it's set to be maxed out. So 3x4 seems to be okay. Let's go into the settings. Picture quality high, okay. So that's good. Guess there's not much more I can find here, so okay, let's go back and just capture a photo. I'm gonna be capturing the plant right here. I'm also gonna go into the portrait just to see how it deals with like the bokeh effect. Some of the phones do a terrible job. Now for some reason in bokeh it seems to be really laggy. As you can see, the camera looks fine in terms of like the movement. Looks fairly smooth. It almost keeps up in terms of the processing power of what it sees to displaying it on the screen. But when you go into portrait, this is choppy. This is terrible. But anyway, let's test out the camera, not the way it displays stuff on the screen. Okay, so this is gonna be the portrait, which already it is terrible. This is just awful. So if we zoom in, I'm disappointed of it. You can see that in portrait it does this fake bokeh effect, but I just cannot distinguish what's the background and what's not. So the needles that's supposed to be in focus, they just kind of have like this halo around, and after that halo just gone, and they literally melt with the background. So that is really bad. And there's also one thing that you will most likely see this looking even worse when it comes down to hair and actual portrait shots of people, not just plants. So this will, honestly, I probably would say to not use the portrait in this case, because portrait is the one that does use the pseudo bokeh effect, which most of the time, at least at the time that this phone came out, was just bad. Nowadays phones can do it way better, but still even at this point some of the devices released in 2021 are still not doing really good bokeh. Now here we still have a little bit of that effect, but it is just so much better. It's way better to anything else. Now this is more of a natural shot, and you can see there is a quality in the photo. It's actually a lot of it, which is surprising, to be honest. It looks really detailed, and also doesn't do that blur of I mean, it does do a little bit of it, but not to the extent. It is more acceptable here, considering the pine or the needles that are behind are a little bit further than what is actually shown right here. So it is, I would say, respectable photo. It looks really decent, honestly, and can't complain about this one. It came out really nicely, as you can see. So this is a this is a good shot, I would say. Now there's also ultra wide, if I can actually find it. So I believe it's gonna be, no, that's the zoom. That's the further away. So I guess it's gonna be under more. Oh, it looks like I also wasn't shooting at 48 megapixels, which is interesting too, because it's a completely separate module here. So it was using the sensor of 48 megapixel, but the photos were at lower pixel. They were basically downscaled, because from what I actually remember now, looking at this, Xiaomi does this thing where you can actually access the main sensor, the 48, and shoot at full resolution of it. Which I'll actually take a look at it in a second once I actually see if I can. Okay, let's be honest, I cannot find ultra wide here. So let's go into the 48. Again, same shot. So this will be the 48 megapixel shot. Now it was being shot from a little bit further away, but again, this actually came out even better, I would say. It completely removed any kind of post-processing of the photo, although it does look a little bit weird in certain cases. So if you, not sure if this is going to be visible on the camera, but like the rock, it has literally an outline, like it's some kind of pixel shading on it, but actually a couple of them have it. So yeah, as you can see it right here as well, it's kind of dark line, which is not very natural, I would say. But other than that, if you look at the actual quality of the needles right here, which is something that I pay attention to in the photos, they are basically all in full focus. They're not really blurred out. While if you look at the background, it is blurred out as it's supposed to be. So this is just more of a natural photo where this looks way better, I would say. So let's actually get out of this one. And lastly, we do have also that pop-up camera. If we flip it over, so there we go. Now obviously I guess I was in the middle of blinking while taking a photo, or just it looks weird when actually this might be because the camera is even higher. I think I was looking at the screen, so because the camera pops up from like, let me bring it up. As you can see, it pops up even higher. Normally when you're looking for a camera, it's somewhere here, right? So now it's even higher, making it look a little bit weird, like I'm either in the middle of blinking or just looking somewhere completely else. But other than that, let's go actually back to the photo. It is a little bit fuzzy. It lacks that detail. It's grainy a bit, as you can see when you zoom in here. It just lacks a lot of the detail. And also, if you look at it, the two weird like white stuff here, those are the lights. They were not in the shot while taking a photo. As you can see, there is no lamp visible, but if I actually turn on the camera, you can see them right here. So technically they're not in the shot yet. It looks like the sensor picks them up anyway and just gets a little bit overwhelmed by them. So it doesn't do a really good job with dealing with light, at least the front sensor here. But anyway, moving on, I will mention before I actually move on, the front camera right here is a 20 megapixel wide sensor, just to put that out there because I didn't actually mention it. So moving on to the actual specifications of this device, it comes with a Snapdragon 730, so it is a little bit outdated at this point, making, if the price is still anywhere similar to this, making it a little bit too overpriced. But if it comes at like $200–300, I think it's a really worth picking up device if you're looking for something cheap but still capable. But yeah, continuing, Snapdragon 730, and you have two different storage devices, so 64 and 128 gigabytes, both with 6 gigabytes of RAM. So if I can actually look what do we got here. Xiaomi has like some weird placement of this wallpaper, home notification. Let's just search for. There we go. So from here we can see a couple different options. Number one, it runs on a MIUI version 12, which would also be Android. Where is the Android version? Oh, there we go, Android version 10. So again, a little bit behind, but I don't think this device will get an update to 11, so just consider that. So this might be the best update you get here with the Android 10. And now also we have 128 gigabytes storage, which by default, without anything installed, 13 is already occupied because, well, there's nothing installed on here. So yeah, it's kind of cool of a water effect, whatever. So with the storage that you have here, it has a UFS 2.0, meaning that it is going to be a little bit slower than, for instance, like an SSD or stuff like that, but still going to be faster than the typical storages of like devices before. So you should be getting fairly decent read and write speed, so applications should load quicker. When it comes down to saving like 4K video, it should process it quicker. But it's still not going to be the fastest on the market, obviously. The best one is, I think, 3.1 or NVMe, I think, was Apple using. But if we compare the price tags here, it's just a completely different range in terms of pricing. And moving on to the last part, it's going to be the battery, which this device comes with 4000 milliampere battery and has, like I said before, an 18-watt charger, which is visible still in the photo, or well, in the camera. So honestly, it seems like a decent charging for the battery here. Can't really complain. The device is a little bit old already, but if you can pick this up for about, instead of the 300 or 400 pounds that it was released at, because I don't believe this is the price that it's right now at, if you can pick it up for like 250, 300, then yeah, it's a really good device. Wouldn't complain to have one like that for that price. But if it still has the price of like $550, that is already with the tax, just keep that in mind. So $550 with tax, seems a little bit overpriced when you can, for instance, drop 200 more for it, which that might not be necessarily the best analogy here, but just bear with me. For 200 more, you can most likely get the newest Samsung Galaxy S21 if you are really lucky with finding it at this price, which where I'm from, yeah, I could most likely find one at that price. So putting that out there, when I would compare this to the Galaxy S21, there is hands down not a chance I would be going for this one, because a little bit more and you have literally one of the best phones out there at the moment. Now it won't be like the Ultra or anything like that, it's going to be the base S21, but still way better. And if you're planning to stick with like the price tag of 300 to 400, then again, more certainly you can find way better devices than this at this year. So it's a really good device, but not for the price that it was released at. So like I said, if you find it at a really good discount, a used one from someone that is in perfect condition and stuff like that, then yeah, it will be worth getting it. But any other way, if it's just kind of new and basically being sold by close to a retail price, just think about other options. That's basically what I'm gonna say. But that being said, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.